My great-grandfather was born in San Luis Potosi and left the city back in 1901. For more than 10 years, I've wanted to visit this old Mexican city and see what he left behind. I was also hoping to find any clues that might tell me something about my family. The city is located in the center of Mexico, about a 5-hour bus ride from Mexico City. I arrived to find out that the place is like a mini Cambridge, Massachusetts, with tons of students, artists, musicians, and writers walking around. My first stop was the museum house of Manuel Jose Athon. He was a well-known poet and writer in his day, in the late 1800s, and he died in 1906, 5 years after my great-grandfather went north. Many believe that Athon's writings were a precursor to the Mexican Revolution. These are photos of his childhood home in Centro Histórico, which is now a museum in his honor. Walking around the museum, I began to think, is this where my family gets its revolutionary ethos? Maybe it's in our blood. My next stop was the Plaza del Carmen, where students gather every day to read and socialize. I went inside the Teatro de la Paz to find it was hosting its own exhibit about the history of locomotives in San Luis Potosi. I soon discovered that San Luis Potosi played a major role in the evolution of train transportation. That's kind of coincidental, since my Houston-born grandfather, Carlos Contreras, became a mechanical engineer. My father used to joke that being a mechanical engineer meant he worked on trains. My next stop was to an art museum, where I soon discovered that San Luis Potosi also played a role in Mexico's artistic canon. Most of the works came from the 17 and 1800s, but then I came across some pieces by modern San Luis Potosi artists. One artist in particular that caught my eye was Laura Leticia Gutierrez. She had pieces of San Luis Potosi landmarks for sale, and I kept seeing her name all over town. I wondered if this artistic ethos is where my Aunt Kathy gets her deep love and appreciation for art. Later, I went to see the various churches in the city. San Luis Potosi is known for its many plazas and churches, especially Templo del Carmen, Iglesia de San Francisco, and Santa Iglesia Cathedral. These are all located near plazas and gardens in the center of town. Before I left, I took one last stroll in the Plaza del Almas to see Potosinos gather water for recent flood victims in Tabasco and Chiapas. I wondered if anybody who walked past me was a distant relative, or if they knew any of my distant relatives that still live in the city. And I thought about the influence this city's past had on my family. Today we're a family of lawyers, bankers, artists, musicians, engineers, real estate brokers, medical workers, and writers. My grandfather, his brothers and sisters could all play the classics on the piano, when very few Mexican Americans did so in the United States. We got these skills from somewhere. This is Russell Contreras in San Luis Potosi, Mexico.